see it.
Yeah.
I see it.
Time now for Jeff's Car Culture.
Oh,
Launch
yeah.
of the Model T Ford. Your
It's
turn.
about time. So the things that you really didn't know and the kind of speculation, but the Model T revolutionized transportation and manufacturing in America when it debuted in 1908. While many know it was the first affordable automobile that put America on wheels, Henry Ford's vision created the new car for the common person. So here we go. Talk about price. Well, initially the car sold for $825 in 1908, equivalent to about 25 grand today. The affordable compared to other automobiles of the area, which typically cost about 2 grand. Ford managed the price point by focusing on simplicity and efficiency. And then you talk about the color. Well, despite the popular saying that customers would have had any color as long as it's black, the earliest Model Ts weren't actually black. The first production models came in gray, green, red, and blue.
Really?
Black became standard in 1914 because black paint dried faster.
That's why?
And it sped up production.
Wow.
Who knew?
Who knew? So you talk about the people doing that. Well, workers were paid $5 a day in 1914, which was just generous. It was revolutionary. The wage doubled and the industry standard to follow allowed workers to afford the very cars they were building, and that's what Ford wanted. He wanted understanding that the customers create what was important to them. Talk about the budget. Ford's budget was not anything uncommon, but modern vehicles launched with massive marketing campaigns. Ford spent almost nothing on advertising for the Model T. The car essentially sold itself through word of mouth and newspaper coverage. Ford relied on the product's quality and affordability to generate the buzz. The assembly line? Well, contrary to popular belief, the Model T didn't launch with the famous moving assembly line. The innovation came 5 years after the release in 1913.
So, I was going to say about 1914 when everybody got a raise.
Yep. Before that, cars were built in a stationary position with workers moving between them, taking about 12 hours per vehicle.
Wow.
The capacity? Well, Ford's factory could produce 11 cars per day by 1914 in implementing the moving assembly line. The number skyrocketed to about 93 a car every 93 minutes, which was very good back then. Efficiency allowed Ford to continue dropping prices throughout production. The first global car, well, it's what they called it. It was designed as the world's first global car. Ford built factories across 6 continents, and the Model T was manufactured in 20 countries. That's pretty crazy back then in 1913, 1914. Talk about the procedures. Well, the Model T wasn't as simple as turning the key. Drivers had to set multiple levels to adjust the throttle, physically cranking the engine by hand. The crank would kick back dangerously and sometimes breaking a wrist or finger if the unprepared person was operating it. The innovations that they had, well, the unique material solutions, it's a magneto, part of the ignition, was built in the flywheel using materials that had been used in automobiles before. The innovation eliminated the need for batteries in the early models through significant engineering achievements. Transformation of it was the Ford specifically designed the Model T with high ground clearance, flexible suspension to handle America's most unpaved rural roads. Don't forget, there wasn't any concrete back then either. The Model T arrived before proper roads did, actually driving demand for better infrastructure nationwide. So kind of contributed to that.
Now that's a Model A.
Yeah. There's other pictures in there too. The source, many farmers used the Model T as a stationary power source. By jacking up the rear wheels and attaching a belt to the axle, the Model T could perform farm equipment like saws, pumps, and threshers, effectively serving as a mobile generator. The name, well, the T designated seems obvious now, but few know it represented the Ford's 20th design attempt. This previous model ran through much of the alphabet. Several of them failed prototypes before the Model T was a success. The earliest prototypes from 1903 were simply named with letters in sequence. So the T finally was at the end of the alphabet, basically. Other milestones, the production ended in 1927. Ford manufactured an astounding 15 million Model Ts. The record stood until 1972 when the Volkswagen Beetle finally surpassed it. No other single model dominated the market so completely for so long. So there you go. You're just going to drive it through America, and that's little tidbits and facts about that. And people didn't know all that, and now you do. So
that was interesting, actually. I didn't realize. I always thought that the Model T was a assembly line made from the very beginning, but no, 5 years later.
He was very innovative back in the beginning. So thank you, Henry Ford, and all the Ford family.
But
let's go recall something.
He wasn't a very